to Girl Take the Lead, the podcast where we dive into the real, raw, and remarkable stories of women showing up, speaking out, and shaping what leadership looks like today. Today's guest is Kayla Logue, a best-selling author, keynote speaker, and a powerhouse millennial entrepreneur on a mission to transform lives from the inside out. Kayla is the founder of the nonprofit Move Into Words, dedicated to promoting sustainable mental and physical wellness for young professionals. She's also the owner of multi She's also the owner of multiple Jet Set Pilates franchises, where she helps others strengthen more than just their core. She helps them build confidence and courage from within. In this conversation, Kayla shares her powerful story from her book, Always Squeezing Lemons, opening up about what it really takes to face adversity, take radical self accountability, and rebuild your life and business in alignment with your values. We talked about anxiety, healing, and the courage it takes to face the unknown. Kayla's honesty, energy, and insight are such a gift. And by the end, I think you'll feel a little more empowered to rewrite your own story too. Let's dive in. Enjoy the listen. And here you go. Kayla, welcome to Girl Take the Lead. I'm so
Thanks so much.
excited for this conversation.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm jumping in already.
Yeah, good. Well, if you would please tell our listeners and viewers a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I am currently located in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. I'm a best-selling author of Always Squeezing Lemons. I'm a multi-unit franchise owner of Jet Set Pilates, and I am also the founder of the nonprofit Move In Towards. So really everything that I'm doing is in that personal development, holistic health, wellness space, and ultimately empowering everyone to be the best versions of themselves.
Well, your life is very full. That's all I gotta
Yeah.
say. You've got a
A lot
lot.
going on, but it's exciting and I love it.
Well, let's dig in. First, why don't you tell us a little bit about your book? Because I loved reading it, Always Squeezing Lemons, because you use the theme throughout the book and different aspects of what you can do with lemons, which
Yeah.
I thought communicated a lot of what you were trying to do. But where did the idea come from, and why did you write it?
Yeah, I mean, to start kind of like why I wrote it, I definitely went into it super naive, and it was one of those things where it was like, I wish I had this book, a couple years ago. It would have been very helpful. It would have been a great guide, a great tool, and probably would have pushed me over the ledge that I needed. And, I really just I started with the always squeezing lemons concept. I remember brainstorming for the book, but nothing really stuck besides the title, Always
Uh-huh.
Squeezing Lemons. And I think what's really important about it is, as you said, I use it through the entire book. The metaphor, I love them. I love metaphors and use that, but the always piece of the squeezing the lemons, it's life is never in terms of growth, it's never ending. We're always changing, we're always evolving. And so we always have to take those setbacks, turn them into comebacks and, not allow that to hold us back. So that's where the always of the always squeezing lemons kind of comes in. And the subtitle is taking responsibility to define your own success. So through the chapters of the book, I talk about my own personal stories of, completely starting over and really redefining like what success meant to me and how that looked. And one practical tool that was huge for me was journaling. So I share
Mm,
that throughout the
love
book as
journaling.
well
Mhm.
for others to take away and use in their lives as well. But in one summary, I guess, like one sentence summary of the book, besides what the subtitle is, it's that mindset shift of when you realize you can be the cause, problem, and solution for everything in your life, your world changes.
Mhm.
And it's really that radical responsibility mindset approach that really does give you that type of control. You're in the driver's seat. But also allows you to kind of take the blinders off and really focus on, okay, what do I want? Why do I want it? And like, where do I have that control here?
So, Kayla, I'd like to do something a little bit different, and have you read from your book up front, because I think what you say about courage is really inspiring. And so, do you mind giving it a read?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great.
Okay, hold on, let me get to it. Okay, perfect. Real internal confidence starts with self-talk and becomes who you are through your words and presence, physically, socially, morally, emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually. Real confidence is not developed by seeking outward validation. It is internally practiced by recognizing what we have in this world and ourselves and what and who we care about most. Real confidence is established with daily habits that build an individually fulfilling life, one that does not only bring you happiness, but pure joy and bliss that you can share with others. Consistent, confident self talk narratives lead to real confidence. Real
Mhm.
confidence leads to courage. Courage leads to action.
Mm.
Courage is cultivated through the actions you take without being hindered by fear because of the real confidence you have in yourself. This process is not drastic. It happens with subtle shifts of thoughts, actions, and wins over time. You will become resilient, self aware, and unapologetically yourself. You will do the right thing and take responsibility for it, even if it is unpopular. You will exercise self forgiveness and allow yourself to feel and process emotions without guilt or attachment.
Mm.
You will become open minded and have a mentality of growth. You will live with purpose and meaning, guided by your inner truths, holding true to your values and authentic self without feeling the need to validate them. You also will not be afraid to share them because you are unconcerned about judgment or criticism from others. When you become courageous, you become a powerful force in this fearful world.
Oh, I love
I
that.
haven't
And
read that passage in a long time. I'm like, dang, that's good.
yeah, you wrote good, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's great. It really
Yeah.
is. And um, I think there were so many elements in there that, subtle shifts, because we tend to think perhaps is courage coming from, a big leap or something like that. But I think the fact that you talk about it being subtle and that eventually it becomes, part of us, the
Right.
whole of us.
Mhm.
Um, where have you had to kind of pull on that for yourself? Where do you see yourself in that?
Yeah, I mean, I think like as you kind of said, we do expect it to be drastic. It just all of a sudden happens, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of the times those big things that do happen or those big decisions that we do make end up happening as a result of those smaller wins or smaller thoughts or smaller confidence boost over time. It's,
Mhm.
even like in the book Atomic Habits, it talks about those small, subtle changes, and all of a sudden it all happens, right?
Right.
So, I mean, it's interesting because I was even having this conversation with my partner this morning. And since, I left my ex-husband and I read about that in this book, over 4 years ago, I'm a completely different person today. I mean, not even slightly the same person. And even from writing this book to who I am today, I've grown and I've changed and I've evolved. And, I see it daily, like in terms of the things that I do, the decisions that I make. And it all starts with doing the things, keeping the promises to yourself, and not going a path that you aren't proud of and also isn't fulfilling and doesn't give you purpose. Because if you're waking up every single day and just going through the motions, none of that's going to apply to you. You're not even going to read that and feel anything because it's hard to relate or feel any sort of thing in that capacity if you don't have anything you're moving towards with purpose or with passion or things that you really do deeply care about. And, subtly over time, the more decisions you make that is in alignment with your path and in your purpose, the more those, courage does happen. Like you don't become scared to do it because you know it's right, you know?
Well, and I think, in that passage, you really talk to external validation, like seeking the approval of others comes to mind for me, people pleasing, all of those things where you can definitely lose yourself and your own compass when you're doing that external validation. I
Mhm.
think um, I thought it just came with age, but I love that we're talking about this because if someone can get that really early, man, freedom, right?
Yeah, and I think that really is where, I mean, again, it is, don't get me wrong, it is very easy nowadays to pick up the phone, compare your life to
Yeah.
anybody and everybody. It's at our fingertips at every single hour of the day, unfortunately. But I
Mhm.
think that's again where, when you are doing the things that you are passionate about and you're building something and you're using your creative power, no matter if it's a business, whether it's artwork, whether it's music, whatever it is, when you care enough about something and you do actually have a deeper mission behind it, a lot of that slowly starts to go away. And I mean, also with time, like I've done a lot of unconventional decisions and made unpopular choices. I mean, getting married and getting divorced at a young age, I had a lot of judgment, I had a lot of criticism. And the more you gotta go through it, the more you realize it's not that big of a deal because the people that love you and care about you are always gonna be there to support you. And those are the people that
Mhm.
should be there, and let them talk. People are gonna have something to say, no matter if you're doing something great or if you're doing something bad. And at the end of the day, the more you think about it, no one actually really cares unless they really care about you, you know? So
Mhm.
it's when you can really kind of conceptualize like what really matters and who really matters, the rest just becomes noise.
Yeah.
And separating that's really important too.
Is there anything else you see there about why I guess we go towards the fear instead of stepping out into courageous action? We talked about external validation, but are there other things too that you see there that keep us from being courageous?
The unknown,
The unknown.
the unknown is definitely it's scary, because there's
Mhm.
nothing predictable about it. If you're going through the same motions every single day and doing the same thing and nothing's really changing,
Mm,
it's hard to throttle yourself into that discomfort of the unknown
mhm,
and until you actually do it, and then you kind of get like addicted to it. But not in all cases, but the thing is making the unknown more familiar helps kind of almost like reprogram your mind to not be scared or like paralyzed by fear, as I used to call it. And I still call it that, but now I find myself when I get anxious, because I say anxiety is fear of the future, but now I get anxious, I just become impatient.
mm,
So that's what starts paralyzing me. I'm like, oh, I should be 5 years ahead of where I'm at rather than, pausing and reflecting and being in the moment. It's a little bit of a tangent, but that's kind of what I was saying there. But with the fear, it really is. I find a lot of people just are scared of the unknown, and
right.
rather than just going for it, they stay in the comfort zone.
Mm. We mentioned a little bit about anxiety.
Hmm.
Anxiety is definitely the fear, I think, of a negative outcome. So
Hmm.
you stay pretty paralyzed in that moment. Um, and trauma can also trigger us, I think, to not take action. That fear comes up of something that might get repeated.
Hmm.
Um, I guess those are two other aspects that keep women, I mean, keep us. I'm going to say all of us from being brave in that moment and being courageous. I mean,
Absolutely.
and I think maybe there is something about the trauma that we need to kind of dig into. Not like I mean, in terms of our personal growth, like coming to acceptance with it. I think you talk a lot about forgiveness, self forgiveness when it comes to this area of being courageous.
Hmm.
And that I think would be an outcome too of trauma. Do you see anything else there?
Yeah, I mean, and I write about trauma in my book as well. And I say trauma doesn't have to have a capital T, meaning it doesn't have to be the most extreme circumstances to do trauma's job, which is causing dysfunction in our lives. And
Mhm.
exactly kind of what you said, trauma can hinder us from making the right decision or the better decision because we are fearful of the negative outcome. And, kind of framing it in the sense that we're fearing something that hasn't happened yet. It's in our minds, it's not real. And, kind of reprogramming that side of it, I think is super, super important. But, with trauma, the reason I am a big component of self-forgiveness is because I don't believe you can forgive other people before you forgive yourself.
Mhm.
And the sense of taking that radical responsibility and where you did something wrong. There's always a pointing of the fingers in every single situation rather than like first looking at, okay, where did I go wrong? Even if it wasn't necessarily your fault in the bigger picture, there's something that maybe could have done right. Maybe the relationship should have happened in the first place. So, and it's not diving too deep in that, but it's just forgiving yourself for where you're holding that resentment. And
Mhm.
then in a way, it's just so powerful and it allows you to release other things. It allows you to become not only more vulnerable with yourself, but more vulnerable with others, which is over time. Have you ever seen the analogy of the wine cup, like the wine glass, where it's like, this is what healing looks like? And this is, I'm referencing this for trauma, but there's, red wine in a glass and then water is pouring into it. And it takes forever for the red wine to completely be rinsed out by the water. And
Mhm.
it's a process. So when there is real trauma that has caused dysfunction in your life, and sometimes it's just never going to go away. Like you're just going to have to live with those scars, but you can't let those scars create new wounds and reopen. And that's where the self-forgiveness piece I think is super super powerful and also very important.
Yeah. Wow. I just love the way that you are articulating these things, Kayla. You're really skillful at it. I mean, I'm just going to
Thank you.
give you that.
I like metaphors. I really do. And also I think it just takes very complex, deep concepts and makes it more digestible in ways that you can
Absolutely. Just like your
visualize. And
book. Your book does
yeah.
that very, very well. One another thing I love though is when you talked about when we say, I'm fine.
Mm,
Like
yeah.
you looked at that and you went in and said, now that could mean a couple different things. I think our listeners would really love to hear about that. Like, I'm
Yeah.
fine is not necessarily meaning I am fine.
No, I'm fine to me literally is just no feelings at all.
Mhm.
And a lot of the times I find that you're not actually processing anything when, you're saying I'm fine. You're either avoiding something or you're not processing anything at all and you just want to keep avoiding it. And I said I'm fine for years. And it's funny because I call it the numb word and I didn't realize I was numb. I really
Mhm.
just thought I was fine, but fine means nothing. So if you find yourself constantly just like reverting to the word I'm fine, I would really check in on yourself. Or if you hear your friend constantly saying, I'm fine, like check in their body language. It's not fine, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I think sometimes as women too, we tend to gloss over things that are happening to us in the moment. I know for me, gosh, it takes me time. Like, give me an emergency. I am on it. I am stoic. I can handle anything. And it takes me time before I can actually process anything that happened. Like the tears come up, or I think, don't you say that we should have tear time? I mean, we should have crying time. But I think we do need those moments.
Yeah, we do. I mean, I think I've heard about that like kind of the first like introduction of my book where it's like, we all need to shed some tears, which is so
Exactly.
true. It's so true. We absolutely do. Like I think it's unhealthy for us not to take those times and like give ourselves that grace. But also we can't play the victim role and just cry about things that, it's like, all right, process it, don't hold it back and move forward.
Yeah.
And that's and that comes with repetition, because I have a lot of people that always ask me like, how do you keep up? How do you, kind of move on this way? And I'm like, it's just over time, you keep
Mhm.
showing up for yourself, you keep staying true to yourself. It's not like an easy path. I mean, I'm doing a lot of things. I've made a lot of big changes in my life over the past 5 years, and I've become a new person because of it, and a much better person, the better version of myself that I want to be and continue to grow into.
Mhm.
But it hasn't been easy. Not one step along the way has been easy. It's been rewarding, but easy isn't the word.
Yeah.
And, there's been a lot of tears, but I haven't let those tears, I haven't drowned in them.
Yeah.
they flow and then I move on.
Well, I think you're speaking to resilience, right? Your own resilience of coming back from adversity and being able to say, okay, yeah, I changed course. I had to pivot because this wasn't working. And each time we become more resilient, don't you think? And I guess maybe more self-aware, right?
Absolutely. And I think self-awareness is, I don't think, I know self-awareness is the absolute key. If you're not self-aware, or if you're not willing to be self-aware, because we all have the instincts to be self-aware. It's a matter of if we actually want to utilize them to our greatest power, essentially, and evolve and grow into that. Because we can just turn a blind eye to that and, just keep being, which not the route to take.
No, no. And I guess I wonder if you do talk about 3Ds as a way to connect. Can you talk a little bit more about them?
Yes, I actually love it because it's like the 3D framework and it's really practical, and it's a way to, kind of dive into journaling, especially if it's not something that's a practice for you, but allow you to start gaining a little clarity. And the first, it's dream it, define it, and do it. So the first D is dreaming it. And I am a huge fan of delusional dreams, like your biggest, craziest, whatever dreams they are, write them down, because I am also a believer that if you don't put it out there and you just let it live in your mind, it's never going to be able to evolve. You're never going to be able to see it. So the dream it phase is where you're just pretty much like brain dumping every big goal you've ever had and what that looks like. And then defining it is the systems. So we're taking that big dream it phase and we're breaking it down into tangible ways to actually start achieving that from the very baby step.
Mhm.
And that might be just where you start, is in those baby steps and figuring out where to start. And that's a huge key, because then that goes right into the do it phase, because a lot of people will stop at that dream it, define it, and then they don't do it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
that's the key. But for me, I found keeping the record and, writing through that, it's interesting because I kind of created that framework after I did it a lot. It
Mhm.
became like,
Mhm.
again, a tangible way to put it in to help other people. But I did a lot of dreaming, I did a lot of defining, and I did a lot of doing. And keeping that record through my journal was super, super helpful and allowed a lot of things to unfold in ways I couldn't have imagined.
Yeah.
So it's really
Well,
powerful.
with the life you have right now, I mean, what are there dreams out there for you that you're like still going for? Or because I
Oh yeah,
know,
I'm just getting started.
oh my God,
I
I
feel like I'm
cannot
just
wait,
getting
Kayla.
started. I'm just in my like baby phase. Like I'm in my infancy stages. I mean,
Kayla, you
the
have to come
Pilates
back.
studios are just going. And then, I mean, move into words is just starting to get traction. I mean, I only wrote one book. I've got a lot of things going on, or not going on. I have a
I
lot of
love it.
things I'm working on building. So yes, absolutely.
All right. You have got to come back. You have got to keep me informed. I'm going to
I
check in with
will.
you on a yearly basis and go, what's going on, Kayla? Because
Oh, it'll change in the best way. Like, I mean,
I'm
it'll just
sure it
keep
will.
growing.
I have no doubt that you are just gonna fly, girl. I mean, it's just so wonderful. I love your energy and the way that you're seeing things. It's just, I think you need to tell us about more about your nonprofit, Move
Yeah.
Into Words, because I think that that's just so amazing.
So it actually started when I was writing my book, like the whole idea for it. And it's crazy how like it ended up evolving, because again, journaling was such an impactful tool for me. And I wasn't even gonna put the prompts in the book until I started working with my editor. And I was like, well, I don't know why I wouldn't. Like that makes sense. And then as I was putting them in the book, I was like, gosh, this is gonna be so great. And then I was like, but it's only 12 pages and a 12 chapter book. This isn't gonna make more of the impact that I know it can be. And then also, I've been an athlete my whole life, so physical activity has been huge for me. And again, I kind of unfold a lot of these wellness pieces that have really shaped me into who I am too in my book. But that's where I was like, God, I want to make more of an impact. And that's where move into words came to life in the pages of my journal. And so it's all about cultivating a community for young professionals to thrive physically and mentally. And our first event was actually last February. So it's been a little over a year. And we do a workout for the body and a workshop for the mind. So we combine the physical and the mental piece together in about a 2-hour event. It's a very holistic approach. It's been really cool to see how the community has grown and continuing to evolve. Just even from, when we first started, we knew what we wanted, but we didn't really know what we wanted. And then now, even just a year later, how clear on what our goal is and our business development and stuff. It's really, really unique. But one really impactful component is the journaling piece. So we do provide journals to every single person that attends our events. And, we have our big first fundraising initiative being Operation 1 Million Journals. And so obviously the goal is to put 1 million journals in the hands of 1 million young professionals. And it's, on our website, it's $10 donation is equals 1 journal. So in a very compact summary, that's what we're doing, but we're definitely planning to expand outside of the Charlotte area.
Well, I love it. Can people help you from outside of Charlotte? Can we go and, sponsor some books and some?
Absolutely. I mean,
Okay.
donations are, we have the active website. I mean, it's a 501(c)(3 recognized nonprofit, so it's all tax deductible. We're having volunteers kind of reaching out from everywhere, like wanting to bring it to different places. Right now, we just don't have the capacity to do so. We're hoping, with more funding, with more things that we are working to do,
Uh-huh.
that we will be able to actually bring our services
Very cool.
to many other
Yeah.
cities, but anybody anywhere can help. Every single dollar counts right now. So
So we'll have information about that in the show notes. But how else can our listeners and viewers support you, follow you, and find your book?
yeah, so my website, kaylalogue.com, has absolutely everything. All my social media is there, my books there, my nonprofit's even there. I have tons of different resources, podcaster link there. So check out my website. That's the best way. Email me. I love hearing from everybody. So
Cool.
even to message me on social medias. Either way, I'm definitely always like to respond.
Great, Kayla. Well, I always ask my guests this question. I'm curious to hear what you will say.
Oh boy, I'm too.
What would you tell your 20 something self today?
Oh
Oh
gosh,
boy.
just keep going. And, in the sense of keep going, but also be true to yourself. Don't listen to the outside noise, because I know for me, that's one thing that has really shaped me. Like, I've always been a very confident, strong, independent woman, but I also found myself getting a little bit lost in the noise, in society's ingrained programming, rather than listening to my gut, rather than following what I knew I wanted to do with
Mm,
purpose. And, when I started re-listening to that is when everything unfolded. And a lot of it didn't make sense at the time. And I always say that I'm like, it might not make sense, but it will feel right. And find where you find purpose and follow that.
mm, yeah, so good. Okay. Did you get a chance I think you did go to the card and gift store
Yeah,
and
I
purchase
did.
something?
I liked the coffee girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so good.
She's cute.
I like that one too.
Yeah, I'm a big coffee fan, so I get pretty suckered into anything with coffee. My mom and I have kind of like a run, not like a running joke, but we have way too many coffee mugs that match each other, and like anything with coffee, like I'll send her something funny. So
Oh, that's
yeah, I
great.
think it's just
Great.
like naturally like I'm attracted to coffee stuff.
So, Kayla, I'm not kidding. I'm going to be checking in with you, girl, from time to
Please
time
do,
and
please
just
do.
kind of
I'd
go,
love
what's
to.
up? How's it going? Because, I have a lot of guests on the show, but I can tell, like, girlfriend, you're on fire. You are going to just clear the path for this one to get going. So, I hope that we can support you with your nonprofit and with your book. Um,
Yeah.
People, the book is it's just so captivating because a lot of what kept me going reading it was how you just used the metaphor throughout the book. Oh, well, here's another thing we should do with squeezed lemons. It's
Yeah,
like, yeah,
the whole process of making the lemonade through it. And it
yeah.
was it was fun because my editor helped me kind of like piece that together in the way that each chapter almost like it intertwines with the piece of like what the chapter is titled, right? Because
Yes.
the way it flows is such an interesting dynamic. It's not your typical like normal here, like this
Yeah.
happened in 2020 and this happened here, but it flows so well because we piece it together like with the lemonade making process.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was fun to put together. Actually, I
Well,
lied. It was so hard to put together, but it was
I
fun once
was
it
going to
came
say,
together.
you're dealing with some very heavy topics in there. I'm not sure it was that.
Oh, no, it actually wasn't. It was a very much so an expedited healing process, I will say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But it was yeah, it was a lot more. Everyone says writing a book's gonna be the hardest thing you ever do in your whole life.
Yeah.
And I kind of believed him, but I was like, huh, whatever. And they're not lying.
Yeah.
I was wiped
Okay.
out.
Well, I hope that everybody picks up your book because I definitely thought everybody could benefit from it. It wasn't just a particular target audience. It was like, oh, everybody can use this. Any generation can take
It's
a
pretty
look at this book.
universal.
Yeah, very universal. So thank you for writing it. And thank you for coming on the show, Kayla.
Thank you so much for having me. This was great.
Thanks so much for listening today. If Kayla's story resonated with you or reminded you to check in with how you're really doing, I'd love for you to leave a review wherever you're listening to this podcast. It helps more listeners find us and feel supported on their journey. And don't forget to share this episode with a friend who might be quietly saying, I'm fine, but needs to hear that healing and hope are possible. You're always invited to join our public Facebook group, Girl Take the Lead, or visit our website at girltaketheleadpod.com to catch up on past episodes. You can shop our store or sign up for updates. We're also on YouTube. Just search at Girl Take the Lead and hit that subscribe button for us. And yes, our full episodes are also available on YouTube Music. A few of my favorite quotes from Kayla. Confidence leads to courage, which leads to action. Saying, I'm fine, can mean you're not really feeling anything at all. And the last one, when you become courageous, you become a powerful force within this fearful world. And here are 3 key takeaways from today's episode. 1, own your narrative. Radical self accountability is the key to transformation. 2, courage builds over time. Small steps lead to bold moves. And 3, self forgiveness is power. Healing begins with compassion for ourselves. Coming up next week on Girl Take the Lead, we're shifting gears, but staying in deep waters. My guest will be Molly Positive Pants, aka Molly Smith. Molly is the author of What the Funk? A practical guide to getting out of the funk you are in with your health, mindset, and purpose. We talked about emotional code, chasing unrealistic ideas, comparative reality, and alignment, which she doesn't see as a destination. Whoa, it was such good stuff. Until then, be kind to yourself, lead with intention, and remember, you got this. Talk to you soon.